Today is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is our recap of Survivor 48, Week 10.
This episode's titled, My Enemies Are Plotting, as sung by Star.
All right. Night 17, they do they do the recap first.
Previously on Survivor, Eva got the safety without power. Kamilla and Kyle are each other's number one. David's on to him, though, and Mary. Mary's on to him, too. Eva chooses to betray David. At least that's how it was depicted.
Okay.
And David is out. We're back at camp after Tribal Council. It's night 17.
Do you think that is why David said in his interview he thought Mary voted for him? That he couldn't believe Eva did?
It's probably part of it, yeah. I didn't catch exactly who it was, but somebody said David did that to himself when they got back. And Mary said she was in shock, obviously. Hulky and Bulky got outplayed.
Okay. Now that you've done the recap,
Eva wants to square it with Mary. We were already back at camp with what I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Were you surprised when Eva asked to speak with Mary? I was.
Yeah, absolutely.
She opened well. She said, I'm really sorry.
Well, she had said all along, I like Mary. She didn't. And she liked David. It wasn't something that she really wanted to do, but at least she apologized, which it opened the door for Mary a little, so.
Well,
she thought.
With her next sentence, though, she said, I told him we can get rid of you anytime.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Eva's social game, not top tier by any means.
But Eva did tell her that she would try to keep her, but if she couldn't, that she would tell her that it was her.
And oh, by the way, I won't play my idol for you either.
Yeah. Well, I thought that was a bold move on Mary's part to ask. It's like, really? No, why not? You can't get it if you don't ask. Though Eva didn't hesitate to say, no, I wouldn't do that.
Eva tells us she's not in my strong four. I have all the artillery I need and can't do much about Mary.
Well, she might have felt differently if Joe hadn't won immunity this week, but...
The beatdown wasn't done, though. Star got her turn next. She said, they played you like a fiddle. And we had seen Kamilla and Mary and Star talking in the next time on Survivor with this next segment.
Forward and all of that.
Thinking that they could bring Mitch in, even though Mitch was currently over with the Strong Four celebrating. Down at the beach, I guess, is where they were hanging out.
Well, they must have discussed who they'd want out beforehand at some point, because they were all like on board. Oh yeah, Joe first. If he doesn't win tomorrow, it's Joe.
That sparked hope for me. I did like Camilla's play. They won't go to rocks. They'll be scared. We can force them. We can force their hand,
or at least get one of them to.
But it's a bold play, but it almost never works.
Yep.
To go even on a vote and be willing to go there.
Well, and to get everybody to really actually go there,
Star had assessed their targets. She said Shauhin's the brain, Joe's the body, and Eva's the heart. And Mary said we'll focus on Joe if he doesn't win. A lot of celebration of Star this episode.
Yeah, and we saw Mitch, Eva, Joe, and Shauhin sitting together doing a fist bump down, it looked like maybe around the beach.
Right. Yeah, and even there's a later shot from that first one where Kyle joins them down there. I think this is the first episode where we start to feel a little bit of the strife between Kamilla and Kyle, that things aren't 100% there.
Well,
They've appeared to be in lockstep, right, up until now.
Yeah. Well, and they kind of are, but I kind of thought she might turn on him this time too. But he still, in my opinion, stayed loyal to her in that he told her everything he knew. He tried to help her out, with the reward and so. But I think she was coming to the realization, and maybe for the first time, that I may have to leave Kyle behind. I may have to choose and just
another path
and move forward. And I don't think it's necessarily what she wants to do, but she's got to look at the possibility because he is in that strong alliance and she isn't.
He appears to have a path to the end, and she doesn't yet. Yeah.
Yeah, they've kind of brought her in now, but she's at the very best number 5. And who wants number 5 if they could get number 1?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this episode's basically a 2-day cycle, day 18 and day 19. And that morning on day 18, we're introduced to the comedian, hilarious postman Mitch. Yeah, with his pit bull chase me story.
Literally rolling around on the ground to tell
reenacting
the
it.
Yep.
Yep. Big old pit bull chased him when he was trying to deliver the mail. He was running, looking back at the dog, trying to make sure the dog didn't catch him, and ran into a tree. And then he realized that the dog was chained.
Yeah, but
Shauhin,
that would still get your adrenaline pumping.
This is important, I think, in that there's going to be a reference to who entertains the tribe that comes a little later, so it's worth highlighting that. And Shauhin tells us Mitch is hilarious. And as far as he's concerned, Mitch is in a good spot.
He's a free agent. And Kamilla is also.
Mm-hmm. Wants to keep them close.
Yep.
They basically have reformed the 6.
Because
they've got 6 again.
He's got to keep his options open too, and who he would turn to if he needed help turning on the others, if it needed to go that way, if he was seeing that they were ganging up against him. And, I don't know what number they think they are, but I do think Joe and Eva think they probably both think they're number 1 and the other one's number 2.
Or 5 and 6, you mean? Is that what you're saying? With Mitch and Kamilla?
No, I mean that they're going to be number 1 and 2 in the end.
Oh, Joe and Eva?
Yes.
Uh-huh. With Eva being number 1, because Joe doesn't care if he wins.
That's yet. I need to see that in the finale, but that's what he says. But
we see Joe and Shauhin and Mitch talking, and Joe says that they've got their 2 now, and he likes Mitch and Kamilla, and that puts Mary and Star at the bottom.
Phew, I was glad to hear that.
Yeah.
But, as Joe says, he and Eva, Kyle, and Shauhin are the final 4. And they're just going to add, because they need a 5th and 6th. They'll add Mitch and Camille, but they're not in the final 4.
Group hug. Yes. And we see Eva and Joe talking right before that big group hug moment there for the final 4. And they say Star and Mary are next, and then we'll take out Mitch and Kamilla.
Yep. Okay. Then they flip over to something a little bit lighter. We see the bats hanging upside down. And Mitch is in the hammock, snoring away, driving Star crazy.
Yes. She starts imitating his snore. And we hear Mitch say, "You kicked me in the face twice." She says, "To stop you from snoring." That is a bad snore. They gave that away in the previous episode when Eva was sneaking out. They showed Mitch snoring. So he's got sleep apnea the way she described it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's how you used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he may have a unit at home to use, but I doubt they were going to let him bring it out there.
Mm-hmm.
No electricity plugging in. Okay, so Star it doesn't see, we just haven't seen a lot of her strategizing and talking with people and this and that. It seems to be a little more sporadic, but she must do it all the time. And we see her asking Mitch, will you go with us three girls?
Right. And will you go to Rocks? Are you ready to do that?
Yeah. And yet his response, she's a joke.
Yeah.
It's
Anyone but
just a
Star,
joke.
he tells us in the confessional. She's all over the place. And I think the most important part is what he says last. She just wrote my name down. She just voted for me to be out of the game. That's kind of hard for him to adapt.
Or anyone.
Yeah, probably. There's is your name seriously being considered, or was it some minor thing? I think there are differences. There are degrees of that. But you certainly don't want to see your name.
They just didn't want to write somebody else's name down, but
yeah,
it's still always in the back of your mind.
This for the first time, I was hoping he was going to get traction, and this was a big opportunity. But I started to feel Mitch slipping away in this episode
from
his chances to win.
Yeah, I kind of did too, because they did have a chance, and I would have liked to have seen them try to execute it and see what they could do with it. But it just seems like they, Kamilla, we know, can be very organized, but the others, their distrust of each other seemed to be so great that they couldn't trust each other enough to get there. And then, when they didn't have Joe as a target, it was just kind of went belly up. Quickly. But anyway, Kamilla tells us, there's those four people are the core group.
Right.
And, but she does still trust Kyle, even though he's in that core group. But this is the first time we have heard her talk about, but she could flip and go with the bottom group.
Right.
And she thinks that she and Kyle are, playing number one, the best game, but nobody knows it.
Yeah.
Which is true, which could hurt them in the end as well, because if other people make big moves and they are not seeing the moves they do make, it depends on how well they tell their story.
Yeah. I believe that Kamilla was committed to making a move here, to forcing this.
Oh, yeah.
Because we see her talking to Kyle, and
Totally.
she says, hey, they want Joe. We're looking to tie at 4 and then go to Rocks. And then we hear Kyle talking about how he's got a special connection with Joe.
Well, not only that, he's like, but I've burned every juror so far. Can't keep burning every juror. And I thought, well, you may have to if you don't want to be one of the jurors.
When the point isn't to be on the jury with them, then you have to be ready to do that.
Yep.
He did seem to be a little overly concerned with that. I mean, yes, you have to have somebody vote for you if you get to the end.
Well, and I do know what it's like when someone's there for you and you can tell your deepest, darkest to, and they're there to support you. So they've connected on a different level.
Talking about Kyle and Joe now.
Yes, yeah. And that is different. It is harder when you make those connections.
He does try to make a case for Joe to a degree, and he tells Kamilla, hey, Joe wants you in the 6, while also acknowledging in a confessional that he owes a lot to Kamilla, and he wants to do everything that he can to get her close and give her an opportunity here.
Well,
but he's not going to vote for Joe, is what he's basically saying.
Yes, he's like, I cannot vote for Joe with you and against him, but I won't tell and I won't stand in your way to go after him. So I don't know about that strategy, but it's what he could do. And he wasn't ready to do it, but it's like, but Kyle, how do you think you're going to win? You're just going to let Joe go to the final? You're never going to vote him out?
Yeah.
Because he's not going to vote for Eva. I just don't believe he will. I
think he's missing some things here with what we hear him say when he was talking to Joe, and he started by saying, Kamilla's in, she's with us, and then we hear him say, from a confessional that he's not sure what the jury's looking for or was he talking to Joe there? Anyway, and he doesn't know if they're gonna support someone who backstabs is what he's worried about. But Chrissy was very clear that she wanted to see movement against that strong alliance and not let them just walk into the final. And that required playing Survivor, which would be the thing that David didn't want to do, which was the lying and backstabbing. But she was fine with that because that's part of the game.
Yeah, that's the game.
He seems to have forgotten that Chrissy's fine with that.
But his goal out there was to prove you could win it and not do that.
His being David.
David.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was his goal, is to play the game with honesty and integrity and win it, having played that way. That's what David was all about.
So Kyle's wondering where the jury's going to be on this. He's not sure that he can choose that path to play a classic Survivor game because he doesn't know what this jury values. What are they looking for? I'm saying he's lost sight of the fact that Chrissy's already said publicly in 2 tribal councils that's exactly what she's looking for.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time thinking Cedric would be different.
So I guess if I do this, I won't get this vote. And if I do that, I won't get that vote.
His mind seems to be clouded by the David vote out. Yeah. Yeah,
it's like, Kyle, whip it back together, son, and just play your game. That's all you can do is play your game.
Hooray, hooray. We actually have 2 challenges again.
Yeah.
We got a reward challenge and an immunity challenge. So here on day 18, we get the reward challenge.
I hate it when they tie their feet and hands together and make them crawl through the sand and then use their teeth to drag the ball.
This was different. That's the thing they changed.
Okay.
The buoy's actually on a tether, and then there's a ring that they have to hold on to with their mouth. Instead of like pushing the ball with their head and their shoulders, the last time we saw this, which was just last season, I think. This time they've got to keep it. This makes sure they get sand in their mouth, basically.
Well, having lost a fourth of my teeth this year, I thought,
you cringed when you saw this?
No way I would do it. I just wouldn't do it.
Okay, so they got to drag that buoy through the sand, and they usually have a couple little dunes that they got to go over and down and over and down again. And then when they crawl to the mat, when they can touch the mat with their head, they can untie themselves, and then they have to maneuver the buoy through an obstacle where it's wrapped around a pole. So you got to do that. And then once you've done that and moved the buoy over to the end mark, you can untie each of the 3 rings, and you do it one at a time. So untie a ring, start throwing it, see if you can land it on the target. And it doesn't matter which portion of the target you land on. There's like 3 arms to land the ring on, but you can't actually stack them all on the same arm. Yeah.
Just get them on there.
What'd you think about the reward, the picnic?
Oh, that was awesome, and I liked Jeff getting them really wound up before the challenge, singing and
he had them chant over and over with him.
Chicken and waffles.
Yeah, and then Shauhin improvised a little jingle on that. They're savory, they're sweet. That's what we want to eat. That was nice. Yeah, I enjoyed that too.
I've never had fried chicken and waffles.
Yeah, we absolutely have. There's a place.
Do?
Yeah, there's a place near us where we got it. There's actually a couple of them.
Where were we when we?
Back in California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There, chicken and waffles. Oh, I know. Kiki's.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did do that a couple of times.
Yeah, you weren't that impressed with it, which is why you don't remember it. But we absolutely did it.
And I didn't love their chicken as much as you did, so I was kind of like, But anyway, you like their loaded fries in the
Shauhin had great technique. He did the worm. That was great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Kyle caught on, and he was doing it too. Lots of grunting in this challenge. I don't know if we've ever heard him grunt that much.
I wasn't sure Kamilla was even going to get there.
Yeah.
That was really hard for her.
It was. She got stuck on one of the dunes, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she is very short, and
Kamilla,
I don't know if that made a difference.
Dead last. Yeah.
To get on up there, she might not have had.
Well, she has confessed many times that she does not have a lot in the area of athletic ability.
Yeah, but that was hard even on the big guys.
Yep, Joe got there and starts throwing first. But Kyle ends up landing the first ring, and then Eva and Joe get there. So it was some good tension back and forth as they added
Kyle
up.
got there first, but he didn't.
No, Joe did.
No,
right?
Kyle got there first. He could not
to the mat.
get the rope untied.
Yeah, it depends on what you're talking about there. I was talking about throwing.
Oh, no. I was
Joe
talking about getting
got
there.
to the point where he could throw the rings first.
Yeah, Joe absolutely did throw first.
Yeah, but Kyle caught up quickly. He landed his very first toss, and then it wasn't...
Not that quickly. Shauhin went, and then Mary and Eva and Mitch, and then Kyle finally got there.
Yeah, my point was he landed the first ring.
Yes, he did.
And it was his first toss. So.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. He made short work of it.
Yes, he did. And then he got the second one, and then he won.
Made short work of it.
He did.
All right. Kyle wins reward. And you were thinking out loud.
I was like, no, Kyle, I don't
win
think
reward.
Don't win reward.
Yeah.
This could hurt you.
What did you think when he chose Eva?
I was surprised.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
I did not either, and I'm still not exactly sure why he did.
And then he chose Kamilla, saying that she hadn't eaten very much.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
because Probst wanted him to give reasons, not just blurt out names.
Yes. Well, and he really did need to have the opportunity to explain that one. But it's just like what Joe did. He took Mitch human to human because they haven't eaten. So I think I was like, oh, that's risky. It's still risky, but it looks like they
had a good cover story.
Yeah, it was okay.
Reasonable. People could accept it. But it's the next one that was questionable. We had just been given the big laugh moment earlier that day with Mitch telling his story, and now he chooses for his third person, Shauhin, saying that
because he
makes the camp
tribe,
laugh.
Yeah, laugh.
Yeah.
It's like, hello, Mitch. But he did say also that he can't eat coconut. Didn't he say?
Yeah.
And he can't eat coconut. So, because I thought, yeah, but Shauhin just got to eat with Joe last time. And Joe's not going to like that you took Shauhin. Now, maybe he could get in with Kamilla because he would see that as something you should do. But Shauhin, not so much.
Well, I just knew that they were going to go.
And the look on his face.
I just knew they were going to go to the sanctuary, but that was not the case. It was just another island.
I, in my mind, thought they were going to fly somewhere to another island in a helicopter.
Why did you think that?
I don't know.
He said it was a boat.
I know, but I thought, oh, a helicopter, they can go to another island.
Okay.
And that's what it's like. Okay.
Mitch did not take it well. He said, Kyle dumped me. Does he really love me? Are we tight at all? He was very disappointed that he was not chosen for that reward.
I caught a look in Joe's face. He made a face when he didn't get chosen. And so I thought, oh, he might not be vocalizing right now, but he didn't like that either. And that could really hurt Kyle.
They had a nice boat. I think it was Propst's boat. That must have been what it was, the one he travels on.
The speedboat?
Yeah. And it already had a picnic basket on the boat. So they got some beverages out as they were traveling to that island.
Yeah, that looked like it might have been some bottles of beer. And 3 of them had that, but Shauhin had something else.
Yeah, it's soda, I think, yeah.
Well, I don't like beer personally, so I would have been with Shauhin. Just don't like the taste.
Shauhin tells us they are a lucky bunch, and he's kind of narrating about how beautiful the channel is and the islands, and I don't know. I wasn't buying any of that, but it just seemed like they needed some filler to get them there. And Eva tells us that one meal really makes all the difference.
And I'm sure it does to their energy levels. Everyone has said so. Even you when you were out doing your thing.
Yeah, you become acutely aware of how your energy fluctuates and how all of that works.
I like that Shauhin sprayed Eva with whipped cream.
He didn't spray her. He flung it at her.
Oh, he flung it at her?
Yeah.
I thought he had a can or something.
I wrote he smacked her with it, with the whipped cream.
Anyway.
Eva tells us she is unconcerned with the next 2 votes.
Yeah, not worried about the vote at all.
Just going to get rid of Star.
Yeah, she was already there. Yep, Star. It's going to be Star. So let's move on. Let's eat some chicken and waffles.
And Kyle lays it out. He said, I chose these people for a specific reason. I need Mitch and Star and Mary to get upset and to work together to target Joe. I want him upset.
Okay.
So that's more why he chose. Yeah, he's trying to help Kamilla out.
Yes.
To
so
get
that
those
they can do the vote.
Forces aligned.
And I think he realizes that Joe does need to go for everyone else to have any chance.
Including himself. He just doesn't want to get his hands dirty.
Yes. That's the whole thing.
He wasn't to be a primary actor.
If they did it,
yeah.
If they made it work and his hands were clean, he'd be okay with it. But he couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, Kyle.
Speaking of that crew, we're back at camp with them. See Star, Mary, Joe, and Mitch.
And we find out that Joe is
As
upset.
you suspected, yes. He said it bothered me that I did not get reward.
Mm-hmm.
But then he recognized that it was probably a good move. And he wanted to take advantage of that opportunity and connect.
Well, he gave Kyle an out.
Mm-hmm.
Totally gave him an out. Oh, I bet I know. It was strategy on his part. I needed to stay here and babysit these people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we couldn't all go. And so he needed me here to, take care of this. Okay, got it. So it's like, wow, you just wrote him a ticket.
And Joe's eager to talk to Mary. So we see them go off to have a one-on-one. And Mary starts by saying, well, yeah, it sucks we don't have any food. And it sucks that I lost David. And then Joe surprised me with this next part.
Well, you're the reason.
Yes.
We took out David.
Yeah, that's the story. This is how things have been thought out, at least. That you got a hold of David, you got your hooks in him, and you turned him from us. You are mastermind Mary, and you chose David because he was the easiest to manipulate.
Well, that is true.
Uh-huh.
At least from what I saw, I would say, yeah, that's accurate.
I like that Mary had the presence of mind to go, oh, I see what Joe's doing. This is some jury management.
Yeah.
He's planning on voting me out, but he's trying to be the good guy and give me this information.
So, if he doesn't want to win, why is he going for jury votes, honey?
Oh, so he can help Eva.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not why he is going after jury votes.
Mm-hmm. He's helping Eva.
Uh-huh. Not buying it. You ain't selling that here.
Okay.
Okay.
Mary says, well, Joe thinks he's got me, and I still want to force the 4 to go to rocks, though. And then we see Mary talking to Mitch, and she asks him, are you ready to go to rocks?
Well, and Mitch is, if that hadn't happened that way, he wouldn't have been ready. But at this moment, he thinks it through, and he's like, I've got to play a fluid game if I want to move.
You got to be able to adapt. I have to continue to humble myself, because that seems to be my role over and over again, to make sure I play humble so that I might be here another day.
He has worked hard with his social game for sure. And he does well in the challenges.
He has no traction.
Yeah. So far, I think Mitch is capable of beating Joe, David, whoever. I do. But he just hasn't been able to really manifest it when he needed to. But anyway, I think he thinks he's capable too.
Yeah, Mary's trying to convince him. She tells him, Kamilla, Star, and I are ready to go to rocks. And we hear Mitch say, you may have something there, Mary.
Yeah, may have to make a move.
All the while acknowledging that they're a little ahead of themselves because they got to wait and find out who wins the immunity challenge. And Mitch understands, like you were saying, he's got to do something now to have a shot.
Well, and he's feeling a little beat down because I guess he thought he was really close with Kyle, as did Joe, and that they were both very disappointed.
He doesn't love me anymore. Yeah.
That does tell me in that respect, Kyle's doing a pretty good job.
Yes. Yeah.
With his social game.
Yeah, we don't get to see those parts of it very much.
And Shauhin feels that way, I think, too. Of course, Shauhin's working with other people as well. But
all right, we're going to jump ahead to day 19, Immunity Challenge. So we didn't see him return or any of that. Just going straight to the Immunity Challenge next. And we get a little slow-mo coming down the beach intro there of the 8. So it's classic challenge. You got the wobbly table. You got to stack the blocks that have letters on it, and you have to spell immunity. If you dump the blocks, you got to start over.
I don't love this challenge.
Why not?
I wouldn't want to do it.
It makes you anxious. That's why.
I know. It made me very anxious, and you know that. I was very, very anxious the whole time.
It's good because you usually get some good competition, and you get these surprises. Someone gets right to the end, almost there, and then the lead switches because they dropped all their blocks.
And it takes a long time, and to watch them, oh my goodness, sweat just dripping off of them and in their eyes. And Joe was smart to wear something around his head.
Yeah, to use his color,
eyes. Yes,
his challenge link color as a headband. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yep. So there was a brief rice negotiation. Mitch says, no, not going to do it. There's only 7 days. And
he spoke up for the other. I don't think anybody's going to do that, Jeff.
With only 7 days left.
Not with only 7 days left.
And Shauhin, Probst pitches it to Shauhin too, because he's one of his preferred narrators, I guess. And Shauhin tries. He says, well, you throw twists at us, we're going to throw them twists and turns back at you. I don't think not taking the rice is them throwing a twist and turn back. But he says they want to compete. But the takeaway here, which neither one of them, and they probably shouldn't, but the real answer is, look, the game's only 26 days long. It's simple. You've shortened it enough that this isn't important. That's your takeaway.
Well, and that the other thing that it makes very obvious is that they don't all trust each other enough to sit out and feel like they're completely safe.
Yeah, that's the interesting part when you do have that negotiation.
I would say that Eva and Joe probably do feel that safe, but their a competitive nature would not allow them to sit out.
Yeah, and it's very likely because people know what day the rice negotiation, what point it'll come at, and they know it's coming, and so they very likely have discussed it, and that's why Mitch could speak for the group.
But I think that's the only reason Joe would do it. If people were like, "Oh, we got to, please, we're starving," then he would probably do it. But I think they just all went, "Nope."
Star found a new low on this challenge. She somehow managed to drop on the first letter. I don't know that we've seen somebody do that before.
Well, she didn't have the feel for the table. That's what it is.
You could stop it. She didn't have a feel for any challenge.
Well, still, you've got to manipulate the table from a rope. And when you get so far away, you're like, oh, I didn't realize it was going to do that.
We got different strategies. Kyle was moving fast.
Yep.
And Shauhin was moving really slow, and so was Joe. I mean, Joe was moving faster than Shauhin, but Shauhin actually didn't drop at all until he was almost at the end with the solve, and then he dropped his first time in the whole game, we're told.
Okay. Well, he did really good with that, but even that was painful. I was like, yeah, okay, let Shauhin win.
Yeah, the sweat was definitely a factor for Eva. She kept getting sweat in her eyes, couldn't see what she was doing. And you get classic. This challenge is as good. You get the montages of the drops, stack, drop, and different people dropping along the way. And you got someone looking like they're getting close, and then they drop, and then the lead shifts to someone else. It's good for that kind of thing.
Okay, bottom line, Joe finally wins immunity. For Jade and JoJo, and sends the message, Dad's missing you.
Yeah, he said it was a classic dad challenge.
Yep.
I like when they slowed down. They gave him the slow-mo with the flies. He was battling flies.
Then I was
trying to blow him away. The whole challenge. They're
highlighting Joe again. I was starting to think, I didn't think Joe could win, but why are they? They don't usually do this. They don't slow it down and just really focus on someone like that very often.
Oh, they've been doing that in all the challenges, doing slow-mos with like sweat dripping off hands or foreheads and stuff.
I don't know. That just felt like some really concentrated attention to me.
Okay.
With the...
You could hear his heartbeat, or you could hear a heartbeat sound.
Mine was already beating too, so
Yes.
It was very tense for me. I don't know why I tensed up so much, but I did.
Well, you tensed up because there were several people that had stacks at 7 out of 8.
Yep, they were.
Shauhin got to 7 out of 8 and dropped. Kyle got to 7 out of 8, dropped. Mitch got to 7 out of 8, dropped. Joe got to 7 out of 8, dropped.
Well, this is the type of game that could impact Eva too.
Oh, that could, the frustration?
The frustration.
Maybe,
yes.
Yeah.
So she managed that.
With the sweat.
She didn't go there.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's in part because she's so very comfortable. She's not worried about the vote. She's not worried about anything right now.
Shouldn't have to stress about the outcome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She's just not, man. And it's just for her, it's not disappointing your tribe mates. For a competitor, that's even worse.
Right. Okay, back at camp there after the challenge, everybody's congratulating Joe. Star tells us Joe won immunity, so we need a backup. How did you not have a backup?
And the immunity challenge was very bad. Very bad.
We get a exchange between Mitch and Star, and we can tell that things are not going to a 4-4 tie, and people are going to draw rocks because Mitch tells her, "Hey, you're going to need to play your shot in the dark." She's like, "Why are you telling me that? What is going on?" And then she realizes she's lost him.
Yep, he's just, nope. I don't trust Mary or Star. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah, we see Mitch telling Kamilla that. And we saw Mitch just before that talking to Shauhin and saying, "Hey, Star's coming for you. You're the new target." So that little fire under Shauhin. Right.
Now, so that means Shauhin was aware that they wanted to target Joe. Was he in on that information before? Or is Mitch just now sharing that? Because I was like, whoa, you just told them who they were planning to target.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Mitch knew he wasn't going to be with Star. He wasn't going to line up with the group at the bottom.
Well, still.
And then Mary clinches it, the dissolution of the gang at the bottom, because she tells Kamilla, "Hey, you know what? Let's vote out Kyle. I don't think they'll care if they vote out Kyle."
And Eva won't play her idol for Kyle. Or
right. They won't care.
They won't care if Kyle goes.
Right. And Kamilla said, "Well, I care." Not to Mary, of course, but to us. And so she initiates a plan that she's got experience with now, which is throw Mary under the bus.
Yeah. And she reminds us all that she doesn't have a shot in the dark. She's already played hers.
Oh, Mary, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I somehow had forgotten that. Even though it's in the roster, I had overlooked it.
Well, then we see her telling Shauhin that she'll work with him to get Joe out of whatever he wants. Just keep me and get rid of Star.
She being Mary, yes.
I said Mary tells Shauhin. So, Shauhin does kind of want Star out because she said his name. And Mary, he doesn't consider as big of a threat the next day because she doesn't have a shot in the dark, and Star does. So,
Cut to Star doing her rap. "My enemies are plotting on me, on me." Okay. I enjoyed that. I liked her lyric.
Okay.
And we see Joe and Shauhin talking, and Shauhin ends up mentioning that Mary had mentioned Eva as a target. So.
Yeah, and then Joe also was concerned because he's like, okay, I don't think Star is in danger of winning immunity, taking it from us. But Mary could. That she almost won today. She could have gotten there. And so he sees her as a bigger threat to them, and that could give her more power than they want her to have. So Joe said, no, we got to do Mary first. Now, Joe also said that about Chrissy, or no, it was somebody else. Who was it that he was after? Anyway, it ends up Joe doesn't always end up with the person that.
Well, they don't show us whatever they discuss.
They never show us.
Because they want to build a little tension going into tribal council.
It's like,
Speaking of which, I think we're there. Night 19,
yes, we
tribal
are.
council. David comes in a tank top because he's got to show off the guns and he's got a fresh face.
I didn't even notice his guns.
He's mad mugging. Yes.
I noticed how dark his face. It looked like he had makeup or somebody hit him in the.
I think he was sucking his cheeks in. Because he was
they were sticking
he was doing
out.
duck lips sometimes
I didn't
too.
even notice he shaved until you pointed it out.
Yeah.
Or what he was wearing, which
He's just giving everybody the stink eye. Yeah.
just that.
He's an angry little toddler. That's how he came across.
His face.
What a tool.
And that you could tell he was deliberately holding it
Scowling.
that way.
Yes.
Look at me.
Yep.
I was like, it's too out there, too obvious to actually make a good impression. It's like when you're watching a movie and somebody's overacting and it takes you out of the movie. And so that's kind of how I felt about it. So it's like, okay. So I just kind of moved on.
Yeah, Mitch catches the first question at tribal council. Prope's just hitting him with a general one. What's going on at camp? Mitch tells us it's about individuals and small groups and trying to figure out how to move forward.
Individual, as Jeff pointed out, that moving forward individually.
Mary, when she gets asked, she said, well, I think it's me against the group. And then trying to figure out who's in which group.
And Shauhin tells us you got to operate from trust, not paranoia.
That seemed to be a dig at David, and they took multiple swings at him through this.
Well, what would he expect any less with him sitting there glaring at them? Mm-hmm. Then, okay, if they can take digs, they're allowed to speak. He's not.
Right.
So it's like, if you're going to glare at me, I'm going to say what I want.
Star tells us she doesn't have an issue with being paranoid, and she wasn't paranoid when Mitch came to her and told her to play her shot in the dark.
Yeah, so she outed Mitch.
I like how she made it funny, too. She said, respectfully, and he didn't stutter. It's a nice turn on that classic thing. Did I stutter? Yeah.
But she tells us she doesn't get paranoid, so. And Kyle tells us that, yeah, Star is just so confident. I feel like I'm talking to the Godfather.
She exudes confidence. And then he lost his train of thought, which Probst enjoyed.
Well, yeah, I was like, oh, I feel for you. Do that all the time.
I couldn't tell what Joe was saying. He just seemed to fumble his here. It's like, you got to be all in on trust or
but you have
confident
to
that
be,
you're right.
Yes.
Be confident in your choices.
Got to be confident.
Sure.
Don't be paranoid. And not only be confident, but you got to be all in.
Even Mary seemed to get a dig in on David when she talked about trust and that paranoia gets you out. Even if you're not at the bottom and you're acting paranoid, you're going to get voted out.
Well, she and Kamilla both said they didn't have any paranoia.
No, Kamilla said she had to actively work at it. She had to be constantly brushing her mind clear of that paranoia.
That's why
keep her brain clear.
Have any. She clears it.
Eva's blunt. Yeah, we got a plan for the next one. We're going to get this one out and we're going to keep rolling.
I think everyone will do what we discussed, and the next one's going.
David wasn't happy when she said that. He gave a big reaction.
Ooh, that's a owie. And moving on to the. Now I know that's just Eva, but it's like, wow, when you say things like that on Survivor.
Yeah.
Sometimes it bites you.
Can be a boomerang. Yep, Shauhin says, you got final 3 thoughts at this point in the game. Mary said, nope, not me. I'm just trying to see tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, and he did point out, you've got to see who's a threat to you to the end. And not only that, but who's a threat to win against you.
So Probst hit Mary with the classic question, well, what's your pitch for staying? Mary said, I'm chill, I'm trustworthy, and you can use me as a number.
Yep, I'm a vote.
Probst tried to pull Star into that one too, but she wasn't having it. He even took two 2 runs at her to try to get her to commit to something. And she was just like, oh, I never want to get paranoid. I'm laid back and I'm straightforward.
Well, she at least said she was laid back that day, and that I stand on the business. And I don't know what I'll do, if I'll play the shot in the dark or I won't or whatever.
Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Yeah, she wouldn't commit and lock in on anything.
Not paranoid.
For him.
So I think...
So time to vote. He couldn't get her a straight answer out of her.
Yeah. He's like, okay, I'm not getting anything else, so let's vote. And she did not play. Oh, she talked about she would go with her gut. She always had to... You could, your gut would never fail you. And I thought, ooh.
Okay, we're about to test that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you might want to play your shot in the dark, but I respect that maybe she just didn't want to give up her vote. She wanted to vote how she wanted to vote. Maybe it would make the difference. So, okay. It ended up being 5-3 for
So they did
Star.
split, yeah.
Yes.
They split the votes
I
just in
figured they
case.
would in case she played it. I mean, it was out there that it had been discussed. So,
Yep. Star is
they talked
out.
about it openly. So, and she tells Jeff, it really hit me where it hurts, Uncle JP.
She got one love you star from Kamilla. I thought it was Mary, but it turned out it was Kamilla.
Yep, and then a couple buys.
So what did you think of this one?
The episode?
Yeah.
It's Survivor, and I liked it like always. But like I said, I had a lot of anxiety during the challenge. I didn't. The reward challenge was just kind of okay, but nothing too exciting that they had to do. I thought it was a lesser challenge than they've been doing, but it gave other people a little more opportunity maybe to try to win.
I was really disappointed that the opportunity to strike at the Strong Alliance just faded away.
Yeah.
And basically, when you hear Mitch tell it in the end after the immunity challenge, it wasn't really there for him. He never felt like he could trust Star.
Well, he couldn't. Or Mary. No one could really trust her. She'll flop wherever she needs to go, which is what she needs to do, playing Survivor.
Right.
But, it wasn't like they had a tight alliance going in and they could hang in there.
It's too bad, because this was really one of the best times to make a move.
Yes. This was a good opportunity to do that. And I'd be surprised if they didn't just take Mary out next week, just because it would be easy.
Yeah, it's the obvious choice now.
Yeah. And unless, the only way I could see them doing something different is if Kamilla, Kyle, and Shauhin and Mitch decided to do something different. Or even Mary, to break up Eva and Joe. Right,
because 4 can control the outcome when you're at final 7, so...
Yeah, but I'm kind of thinking, of course that's what they wanted us to think with the next on.
So it wasn't as good for me, for sure. I enjoyed there was a little bit of excitement in the challenges and all that, but once the opportunity faded away, then I guess it felt like the episode lost some momentum.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. Like you said, a little bit of a letdown, because it's like, oh shoot, I really wanted to see him do something big and
flip
make
the script.
It. Yeah. And I think that's all it was.
I guess it's hard to follow on getting David out, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Couldn't manage that two weeks in a row. Next time on Survivor, we see Kyle talking to Kamilla, but what we hear is from a voiceover. We don't see him saying these words to her. He says, I don't want to hurt people, but every single path harms someone. Yeah. And so that means that he's basically looking at a path that includes hurting Kamilla. Since they're there, we see them together, but he's concerned about the impact. Well, so yes, as there are fewer people in the game, your choices impact them, and
it does get harder, and especially when you're
take that opportunity away
and have made genuine friends with people. Okay, then they show us a picture of Shauhin. It looked like Shauhin, Joe, and Kyle.
out on the beach.
Yeah. And then
With Mitch saying,
we need to get them to flip, whoever
that's what
them is.
closed captioning said, but
Yeah.
it almost felt like he was saying someone's name, but I couldn't really make out what it was.
Well, who would he want to flip? He doesn't know that Kamilla and Kyle are together.
Right.
But the three of them are old Siva.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he said we, but I guess he could be, he doesn't trust Mary.
Mm-mm.
So maybe he's talking to Shauhin and saying, hey, if we could get Kamilla and Kyle to flip.
Then we've got something.
Yeah. Or something like that. That would be my guess.
So there's still an opportunity, to flip the script.
Oh, there is, sure. Unless, Joe wins, continues.
Well, in
win immunity.
Eva's safety without power expires at this next tribal council. So there's a good chance
at
that
7?
there's a chance that we'll see it in action. I don't know that it'll be for her, but last time you can play it is when there's 7 people in the game.
Well, but if she doesn't feel a need to play it for any significant reason, why bother to play it?
Yeah.
She might just
another
do
way to
that
look
as
at
well, because whoever leaves loses their vote, basically. So if they think they need everyone's vote,
but if the vote out is for Mary, then she wouldn't necessarily.
Use
they
it.
wouldn't need.
Why bother to
Well,
use
they
it?
wouldn't. Okay, and on the flip side, they wouldn't need Eva's vote, so she could use it and dip out.
Yeah.
Just so she could get the credit of having it and using it, I guess. We see Mary talking to Shauhin, saying there's a move to be made. Now, that looked like she actually said that to him. It wasn't from a confessional voiceover thing.
And we see Kamilla telling Kyle, I want one of us in the final 3.
That was disappointing.
I was like, what?
I thought you were driving for both of you to be there.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so I don't want her stepping down. That's just like Joe stepping down for Eva.
Yeah, no. And that surprised me because she was already talking about flipping, but now maybe she feels like, I don't have anywhere to go if I
don't have a path.
If they won't work with me, except to be in the bottom, where am I going to go?
I don't want to see that end for Kamilla. I don't want her to take that path for sure.
No, I would prefer not that. We'll see.
It wraps up with Mary. We see Mary talking to Shauhin, and they're in the shelter there. It looks like Kyle and Joe are in the shelter. And she says, I'm going to write your name. I thought she was looking at Shauhin.
I thought she was maybe looking over toward Joe. And she tells us she's got more tricks up her sleeve.
Well, Mary says, I have one more.
Well,
not tricks, but I have one more trick
up my sleeve. And she's
annoyed.
Really annoyed chopping
as she chops a coconut. Yeah.
You get that coconut.
Was
girl.
that something or nothing, or you can't really tell what's going on with the coconut chopping anything, anger.
But
that
she's angry, so
yeah.
And probably frustrated if nobody will work with her, and they're all just going, "Nah, it's you."
Yeah.
And Eva goes to her and says, It's you.
Yeah.
I told you I'd tell you. Yeah. It's you. Sorry. Can't help you.
Hope I get your vote.
Help you.
Yeah.
And because if Eva really wanted to shake things up, if she got wind in any way that they were after Joe, then she might use that to send Joe out, or even to send Mary out if she wanted to get one of the others.
Yeah.
And protect Mary so they couldn't vote for her. So, you don't know what she would do if she got upset and found out that they were trying to betray her and Joe.
That's true. How about a JSFL update?
I can do that. Let's see. Well, all right. Scary is still in first with 48 points now. Way to go, Scary.
Yeah. Congrats.
10 people lost their USB. 146 people lost a safe point.
That would be me.
Not me this week. 24 people earned a vote-off point. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Side challenge. With 44 points, Parker is still in first place.
Go Parker.
43, Robert. 42, Jeremiah, Lisa Ray, and Stacy. 41, Rebecca. 40, Justin. With 39 points, Anderson and Johnny. And with 36, Drew.
All right. Well, there we go. Mine was a 3-point week, and I realized when I was making my picks this week that I had not played bold enough because I've got threes on more than half
You
of the
always
remaining.
laugh at me when I have fours already.
Yeah, I got fours now too because I had to pick a couple of threes.
Well, I had
To be
fours
safe.
before tonight.
Yeah, so you got fives now.
No, I didn't put Eva or Joe safe. I had Star safe, but I thought it would be, I went with Mary, but I really was torn. I thought it would be Mary or Star. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had plugged something in just in case I forgot today. I think I'd put Eva in, and but I really went back and changed, and I also took Star off as being safe. I thought, I don't think I can, that's just a little too bold for me. And so I had enough points on Shauhin, Kamilla, and Kyle. I'm doing good with them, but everybody else not so much.
Yeah.
And now I've got 4 on Mitch, too.
I'm going to get jammed up before
Yikes.
this is over.
Yeah, me too. And
That's
I thought,
where I am now.
I'm going to, I'm more likely going to lose them at some point. So
Yeah.
whatever. But I did switch it and go ahead and put Mitch safe. So
All right. Well, we're looking forward to hearing what you thought about this episode. Yeah, probably not as exciting as the other one, but maybe you saw something that we missed.
well, I did hoop and holler when David was voted out, but I did not do that with Star.
Yeah. Well, maybe some other people did. There's
Yeah,
definitely
maybe.
some Star fans
Absolutely.
out there. We're looking forward to hearing from you. The voicemail is 206-350-1547 or toll free 844-643-8737. You can record your own audio and send that in, attach it to an email, or write it up in an email and we'll read it into the show on your behalf. The email is joanneandstacyshow@gmail.com. Feedback's due noon Eastern time on Saturday. We ask that you keep it in the 3-minute range. Looking forward to hearing what you think about the Castaways after this week's gameplay. Who impressed you the most? Who do you think's playing the best? Who's in jeopardy of being voted out next? What'd you think of those
Right.
songs? Yeah.
What songs?
Well, they were singing at the
Oh,
reward
yeah,
challenge,
yeah.
and then
I enjoyed
we got
that,
a
actually.
nice rap from Star.
It was okay, especially on a, spur of the moment kind of thing.
I thought it was pretty
And on
impressive.
camera.
Yeah.
Well,
Did you
rapping at all.
Yes,
Since most of us couldn't do it.
on day 19 in those conditions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Coming up with lyrics like that on the spot. It's
That
cool.
does make that more phenomenal.
Looking forward to getting your thoughts on the Week 10 episode. Anything else?
Good night.
Have a good one.